What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Wiregrass High School Football Report, brought to you by the radio people. This is your weekly look at all things high school football in the Wiregrass. I am your host, Phillip Jordan, the in-studio host and producer for Dutton Wolves Football on 969, The Legend. Hope everybody had a fantastic Labor Day weekend. It was once again a busy week in high school football with week 2 coming together on Friday night with region play all over the place. And on this week's edition of the show, a little bit different, no coach interview on this week's edition, but I've reached in the archives of some of my past interviews on another podcast I used to do called The Football Report, and I will be replaying a interview I had in 2018 with Willie Tullis, Headland legend, Troy football legend, and he played in the National Football League as well, most notably for the Houston Oilers. So I will play that at the end of the episode. That's a good 20-minute conversation we had back in 2018. I think you will enjoy it. And look, Willie Tullis is from the Wiregrass, and he is one of the legends that come out of this area and make it to the National Football League. So I think you will enjoy that conversation. Before we jump into the results from Friday night and look ahead to this week's games, let you guys know you can find me in the podcast. The podcast is available on Apple Podcasts and 969thelegend.com, 955.tvy.com, 1067kmx.com. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, please follow, subscribe, rate, and review. If you leave a review, I will read it on a future edition of the show. You can find me on social media at pjordansec, and you can always email me at sports.philipjordan@gmail.com. Now, let's go around the Wiregrass. Now let's kick things off in AISA Class A. Lowndes Academy defeated Abbeville Christian 42-7, and that was kicking off region play for them as well in AISA. And when you look at the standings, that does put Abbeville Christian with the one loss down in the fifth position, in the region. Leading up that region is Crenshaw Christian, Lowndes Academy, and Lakeside, all at 1-0. In 1A Region 1, Sampson defeated Florala 30-20. Josh Lowry and Braxton Brooks both combined for 362 yards on the ground in that game and 4 touchdowns. Brantley defeated Kinston 34-0, and Pleasant Home defeated Georgiana 26-20. So then we look at 1A Region 1, their standings. You have a 4-way tie, all at 1-0 with Sampson, Brantley, Pleasant Home, and Red Level. Then McKenzie, Kinston, Florala, Georgiana are all 0-1 apiece there in 1A Region 1. In 2A Region 2, Ayrton defeated Houston County, 49-0, which Ayrton is now 3-0 on the season. Houston County falls to 2-1 there. Jordan Smith and Corey Dozier both combined for 269 yards and 4 touchdowns. Number 3, Geneva County defeated Cottonwood 28-12. Geneva County is now 2-0 on the year, and Cottonwood falls to 1-2 on the season. Emmanuel Henderson had 342 yards and 4 touchdowns in the game, and Cottonwood played a really solid first half there. I remember keeping up with it in the studio there during the Dutton Wolves Enterprise game. Cottonwood had a 12-6 early there in the first half, but Geneva County pulled away there in the second. GW Long defeated number 5 Elba 35-6. So GW Long, that was their first game of the year. They did not play the first 2 weeks. They are 1-0, and Elba drops to 2-1 on the season. GW Long held a 21-16 early lead in the fourth before GW Long distance there in the fourth quarter. Trevor Morris had a big game, 98 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, and he also had a kickoff return for a touchdown as well. Number 6 Abbeville defeated Zion Chapel 48-18. Abbeville is now 1-1 on the year, and Zion Chapel falls to 0-2. Jalen Dozier had 185 yards and 4 touchdowns for the Yellow Jackets in that one. And we look at the standings for 2A Region 2. You have a 3-way tie at 1-0 between Ayrton, Geneva County, and GW Long. Abbeville is also 1-0, so it's a 4-way tie. And then 4-way tie for, last place with Elba, Houston County, Cottonwood, and Zion Chapel all 0-1 to start with region play in 2A Region 2. Now let's head up to 3A Region 2. Houston Academy defeated Delville 50-6, so Houston Academy improves to 2-1, and Delville is 0-3 on the year. Opp defeated New Brockton 27-0. Opp is now 2-1 on the year. New Brockton is 2-1. Terry Davis for Opp had 129 yards and 3 touchdowns. Whitesburg defeated Providence 20-0. Slocum defeated Northside in a non-region game 37-0. Colin Thomas, the quarterback for Slocum, had 207 yards and 2 touchdowns, and running back Jalen Nobles had 136 yards on 8 attempts and 2 touchdowns. So when you look at the standings over in 3A Region 2, and the standings thing, we're going to try to keep you updated each and every week now that we're in region play, where everybody stands when it comes to their, in the standings and playoff races and stuff like that. Houston Academy, Opp, and Whitesburg are all 1-0 and all 2-1 overall, so they head the top of 3A Region 2. Slocum has not played a region game, so they're in the middle there at 0-0, but they are 1-1 overall. Then you have New Broughton, Providence, and Delville all at 0-1 in region play. All right, 4A Region 2 teams that are involved in the Wiregrass. Dale County defeated Ashford 36-14, so Dale County goes to 2-1 on the year. Ashford drops to 0-2. Geneva defeated Booker T. Washington 47-36, so Geneva improves to 2-1 on the season. And in the standings, Strawn is on top so far at 1-0, 3-0 overall. But right behind them, also 3-0, Dale County and Geneva, and also St. James. So those teams are all 1-0 in the region. And we drop down with Ashford. They are 0-1, and there's a 4-way tie there. So you see that a lot. This is the first week of region play, so you're going to have a bunch of 1-0 teams, a bunch of 0-1 teams. So all that's obviously, this order is going to change as the season goes on. But Ashford 0-1, 0-2 tied in the second half, I guess you would say, of 4A Region 2 there. In 5A Region 2, Greenville defeated Charles Henderson 25-10, so Charles Henderson drops to 0-2 on the year. On Thursday night, Pike Road defeated Carroll 42-7. Carroll drops to 0-2. Andalusia defeated Rehoboth 45-6. Both teams are 2-1 now. And Seminole County, Georgia defeated Headland 18-14. Obviously a non-region game there. Headland falls to 1-2 on the season. And we look at the standings. Top 2 teams right now, or 2 of the top teams, are Greenville and Pike Road. Both are 3-0, 1-0 in region. Andalusia, they are 1-0, 2-1. So they're tied with those two on top. Headland has not played a region game yet, so they're 0-0. Then you have Rehoboth, Carroll, and Charles Henderson all at 0-1, sitting there in those bottom 3 spots in 5A Region 2. All right, 6A Region 2, of course, there's only one team in that region from the Wiregrass, and that is Eufaula. And they fell to Lee Montgomery 17-10. On Friday night, Eufaula is now 1-2 on the year. And then when you look at 6A Region 2, you have Lee Montgomery, Carver, Opelika, and Park Crossing. They're all 1-0. The top half of the region, then the second half of the region, Russell County, City Lanier, Valley, and Eufaula, they're all 0-1. 7A Region 2, Enterprise defeated Dothan 48-14. That's only two teams in the Wiregrass that are in 7A Region 2. Enterprise improves to 3-0 in year. Dothan is 1-1 a year, because remember that first one, Bob Jones, didn't count toward the record, like a preseason jamboree deal. But they are 1-1 on the season. It was 21-7 at halftime. Dothan was hoping to be 14-7. Enterprise got that score toward the end there, the first half. And then Enterprise offensively was really good this whole game. I mean, Dothan really had no answers for them. They scored on 8 of 11 possessions. They had 444 total yards, 431 on the ground. Michael Johnson, Mari Griffin, running backs, both had 3 touchdowns apiece for Enterprise. And, of course, you would have heard the first half on 96.9 The Legend. Apologize, there was a power outage. We lost power at the station. So if you were listening on 96.9 Friday night for Dothan Enterprise, that's why you didn't hear a big chunk of the second half, because we just lost power at the station. I think it was around 3 minutes left in the game when we finally got back on the air. We did so you were able to hear the post-game show if you just hung around or kept flicking back. And then also, like I said, the post-game and the scoreboard show was on there as well. So when you look at the standings in 7A Region 2, Auburn, Central Phoenix City, Enterprise, all are 1-0 to start. Jeff Davis did not play this week. They're 0-0 and 0-2, so they have not played a region game yet. Prattville, Dothan, and Smith Station all are 0-1 apiece there on that side. So all that'll get cleared up in the next few weeks, and like all these standings will be changing week in and week out. And just for people interested, Auburn did defeat Prattville 20-14, and then Central defeated Smith Station 56-0. So that is your results, your standings from this past week of games in week 2 of high school football in the Wiregrass. Now let's go ahead in a different order. So the archived interview I'm going to play with Willie Tullis, we'll play at the very end. So next up, let's look at the schedule for Week 3 of high school football in the Wiregrass. So, looking at the schedule of Week 3 here in the Wiregrass, can't believe we're already in Week 3. Really, you think about it, it's Week 4 technically, but we are going into Week 3 because it's the Week 0 deal, but it's the 4th week of the season. So, 1A Region 1 in Week 3, you'll have Sampson at 2-1 playing Pleasant Home, who is 1-1. Brantley, 1-0, will be at McKenzie, who is 1-1. Red Level at 1-1 will be at Kinston, who is 1-2 on the season. Georgiana is 0-3 on the year. They will be at Florala, who is 0-2 on the season. So 2 teams there trying to get their first win of the season. 2A Region 2, this is going to be a big one, and this one I'm going to be keeping extra attention on during the broadcast for the scoreboard show at halftime and postgame this Friday on 96.9 The Legend. Geneva County at 2-0 will be at Ayrton at 3-0. Houston County 2-1 will be at GW Long, who is 1-0. Abbeville 1-1 will be at Cottonwood, who is 1-2. Elba 2-1 will be at Zion Chapel, who is 0-2 on the season. 3A Region 2, you'll have Houston Academy 2-1 at Opp, who is also 2-1. In a non-region game, you'll have Northside Methodist 0-3 at Whitesburg, who is 2-1. Providence Christian at 1-2 will be at Slocum, who is 1-1. New Brockton at 2-1 will be at Delville, who is 0-3 on the season. In 4A Region 2, you'll have Ashford at 0-2 at Strawn, who is 3-0 on the year and leading 4A Region 2 at the moment. Dale County at 2-1 will be at Geneva, who is also 2-1. So that'll be a very interesting game to keep an eye on as well. 2 good teams playing right there. In 5A Region 2, you'll have Greenville 3-0 at Headland, who is 1-2. Andalusia 2-1 will be at Pike Road, who is 3-0 on the year. And then you'll have Carroll at 0-2 playing at Rehoboth, who is 2-1. All right, then at 6A Region 2, Eufaula at 1-2 will be at Opelika, who is 1-2 as well. And then in 7A Region 2, Davison 1-1 will be at Enterprise, who is 3-0. Now, Davison, they are a 7A team, but this is not a 7A Region 2 matchup. They're in 7A Region 1, so this won't count in the standings for region play when it comes to Enterprise. And then Dothan will be at Auburn, who is 3-0 on the year. Dothan's 1-1. And, of course, you can listen to this game on 96.9 The Legend this Friday night. We'll start pregame show at 6:45, and kickoff is at 7. So you can check out Jerry Coleman and Ken Lambert on the call, and I will be back at the studio keeping you up to date on all scores going around Wiregrass, and you can listen to it on your radio dial, or you can download the app over on 96.9 The Legend. Just look it up on your Android or Apple devices. You can find the app, and you can also find this podcast on the app as well. So please go and do that, and give us a listen this Friday night. So that's all the schedule for this Friday, and as promised, I am going to play a 2018 interview I had with Willie Tullis. Of course, he played for Headland in high school. He played for Troy at college, where he played quarterback, and he was a defensive back and kick returner in the National Football League. One of the teams he played for was the Houston Oilers. So, like I said, this interview is from 2018. Just let y'all guys know that. This is not a recent interview, but I thought it was a pretty cool interview. And since I didn't have a coach for this week's show, I would play this one for you guys. I hope you enjoy my 2018 interview with Willie Tullis. Everybody, my first guest on this week's edition of the Football Report is Willie Tullis. He was one of the greatest Troy Trojan quarterbacks of all time, an 8-year NFL veteran playing for the Houston Oilers from 1981 to 1984, the New Orleans Saints 1985-1986, and the Indianapolis Colts from 1987-1988. Willie, thanks again for taking some time out to be on this edition of the Football Report.
Well, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on here. Great to have guys that played the game, get your perspective on what it was like, playing the game at that high of a level, and just, stuff, you remember, and all the great stories. It's always great to hear those from former players like yourself.
Well, it was, first of all, is an honor to be able to play at that highest level. There's the NFL, and it takes a lot of work. It took a lot of work, a lot of prayers, and just consistency, just like it would be to do anything else. If you're going to be a great carpenter, then you have to put your work in. If you're going to be a good teacher, you got to prepare yourself. And if a good preacher, you got to prepare. So the NFL is nothing less. You got to put your work in. And it's a privilege and an honor to be on this podcast with you today.
I appreciate the kind words. I want to start off. Your playing days at Headland. Play for a legendary coach and Coach Cheryl Singleton, who in 2010 went into the Wiregrass Hall of Fame. Yourself in 1999. Just what was it like back then playing there at Headland and playing for Coach Singleton?
Coach Singleton. He was an easygoing guy, and he was just a really good guy. I never heard him say one bad word, not one. And after playing with him for 2 years and then going to college and playing for late college coach Charlie Bradshaw, it was like day and night. I heard things and saw things that I never thought I would see or hear on the college level. It was no more high school. So playing high school was just excellent. I loved every minute of it. I would sleep, eat, breathe football. And boy, I tell you, that's what kept me going was high school football. It was nothing like it, man. Those Friday night lights, I couldn't wait for them to come. And it was really great. And that's why I started playing quarterback in 10th grade. And we had some good times.
Yeah, play quarterback. Was there any players or anybody, back then that you looked to, kind of like you maybe patterned your game after, or you looked up to?
Boy, it was so many guys. Alabama had back in those days they ran wishbone and we ran option. So those were things that I've learned some of their ways of and tricks of running the option. Richard Todd and Jeff Rutledge and Condridge Holloway was a guy, and I don't know if many of the older ones, listeners might know of Condridge Holloway. He was probably the first black quarterback in the Southeast Conference, and he played with Tennessee. And I think Condridge, he either won the Heisman or he finished. I'm not quite sure. He finished in the top 2 or 3 somewhere in there. I'm not exactly sure. But that was one that I really looked up to also.
And you look at the way it is with high school to college nowadays. I mean, recruiting is such a big thing. It's all over internet, television. Where people, kids are going before they go. Back then, what was the recruiting process like for you?
I'm trying to see how. I think it's. It was interesting. Back in those days, of course, you didn't have social media where they couldn't contact you. Plus, you didn't have cell phones, so they could get your number and call you. So everything filtered through your administrative office at your school. And sometimes I would get mail in the mail. But usually all my letters and contact went through the school, and they got them, and I read them and fill out questionnaires and would send them back. And then we would start communicating by phone. But what I think today is that if you're an athlete, if you can play at all, there's so much information out, and they have so many ways of finding and discovering guys until if you have talent, you don't have anything to worry about. It's not a coach's responsibility, secondly, to get your kid a scholarship. I hear a lot of parents, and they say what the coach didn't do, and it's not about the coach. The head football coach, of course, if he wants to, if he puts a good word in for your kid, or provide them whatever information they need, but ultimately it falls back on that kid. Period. It's your kid's responsibility to get his scholarship. And on top of that, when Nick Saban or whoever is recruiting the kid, they're going to look at that person. And if they're signing people that can't play on their team or play on that level, guess what's going to happen? That high school football coach that you're mad at or pissed off about that didn't get your son a scholarship, the colleges are not going to fire him. They're going to fire that coach in college that signed that kid that can't play. Mm-hmm. So I say don't get it twisted. listeners, it's your son's responsibility and your son only, or daughter, to get that scholarship, not the coach. And on top of that, let me put that in here. If you're waiting on the coach to get that kid a scholarship, he's not very good anyway. Now, repeat that. If you're waiting on the coach and you're thinking the coach should get that kid a scholarship, that kid is not very good anyway. Did no coach get me my scholarship? Willie Tullis got it.
Yeah, and you go on to Troy State, and just how good is that? Being able to play. You're playing quarterback position. You're playing close to home. Just, how important was that? Playing at home, playing close to home.
It was like every game was a home. Well, every game I played home was. It was just great. My parents was able to go to every home game, and brothers and sisters and other classmates, and it's just something special about Troy. It's a football tradition. It's a school that has a long history of good winning football, and it was just awesome with the relationships that I formed at Troy. Also, guys from Mobile and Montgomery, Birmingham, and we practiced together, man. We sweated. I mean, we cried together after big losses, and we tried really, really hard, and those guys worked hard, and we had very, very good coaching there. We didn't have the talent, I'll say, on the line, defensive and offensive line, that a lot of schools had. If we had, much bigger talent, we could have went further in the playoffs, I believe. We was pretty small, but guys was quick and they had a lot of heart.
Yeah, and that level, that you a playoff. I mean, now you eventually see, big time college football playing in the playoffs. Just how fun was that? Just being in a playoff game or going to a playoffs, versus the bowl situation that you have with FBS now.
Well, we missed the playoffs by one game in Troy my senior year, so we didn't make it to playoffs. But we were 8-2, 7-3, 7-4, something like that, and we were so close the last game. And I'll tell you one incident. One thing that happened the very last game we played against our rival was Jacksonville State, and I was having a super year, as well as my junior year. My junior year, I was most valuable offensive player in the conference. That was the Gulf South Conference. The next year, I was on pace, and I was leading it, and I was playing at All-American status, and I wound up the season making All-American and Offensive Player of the Year. So we bus up to Jacksonville, and beautiful week, hadn't rained all week. And we even went on the practice field the day before, but that's what you do is you walk out and have a little walk through practice. We go out there game day, Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and the field is soaked, absolutely soaking wet. Hadn't rained, not a cloud in the sky. And that was, I think that determined the game. It slowed me down. It slowed us down. We were the team with speed. My legs were very important. And, we call the quarterback draw, I remember the first half. And that's been one of the plays I scored 63 yards on a 63-yard run at a game in Troy a couple of weeks before that. You drop back, and it's like your receivers go downfield, your linemen pass block, but they open up, they push the linemen to the side when you drop back, and you just run right down the middle. I went 63 yards. We ran the same play in Jacksonville. It was about on our 40 or 50-yard line going in, and when I dropped back and tried to plant, my legs just started spinning like a car in mud, and I hit the ground. And we wound up losing that game by 3 points or so. And it was really heartbreaking for us as a team. And I guarantee you, it wasn't a dry eye in that locker room after the game. And for many of us, that was our last game, and we got so close. And just to think that how we lost that game, and I'm not going to put it all on the wet field because they had to play on it too, but this field, that's one of the most tackiest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think like people that watch college athletics, and high school athletics too, don't look at it. First, like I said, the last game, you lose like that. I mean, for a lot of people, a lot of players don't go on to play professional football, so that's the last time they will play the sport, an organized version of the sport. So it's got to be tough in a game like that, like you said, to lose that way, especially for the guys who know that was their final game.
Yes. It felt like, well, of course, I wanted to go to the playoffs really, really bad. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what the future, held for me, and so it really hurt, not to go to the playoffs 4 years. I only went to playoffs 1 year in high school, and for being drafted, I had no clue or no idea that I would be drafted. I didn't even know would I make a team or not. I didn't know anything about. I love watching professional football, but for me, thinking that I had a chance to make a team or something, that was my wildest dream. To say it lightly, because I just had no idea, where I stood with all that, and really didn't care at that time.
Yeah, talking about getting drafted, the draft process, it's like recruiting, now too, is so televised. Now it's a big thing. I mean, the NFL TV ratings, shoot through the roof with the NFL draft. But do you remember how you were told and how you found out you were drafted by the Houston Oilers?
Yes, I remember exactly. They had 2-day draft, but like they do now, I think it's a 2-day, maybe a 3-day now. But I remember thinking that it was 12 rounds back then when I was drafted. And all the reports that I was getting leading up to the draft was that I would be going the third or fourth round. They did the first 8 rounds the first day, and I didn't get drafted the first day. And I was pretty disappointed and upset. So I stayed out of class to find out where I was going and be available at the phone, because they tell you to wait by the phone. And so I never got that phone call. So I said, forget this. You trust me, forget this. I'm going to class. So I went to class the next day, and someone came and told me, gave me the message, and gave me the Houston Oilers. They was drafted by the Houston Oilers or something. And so I was pretty happy to hear that, and called them up, and the head coach said, congratulations, and we drafted you, and we need you to be here next week. I said, whoa. I said, thank you very much, but I've got another month of school. And so he said, well, okay, well, go ahead and finish this quarter semester, and we'll see you a week after. Ooh, so I had a week to celebrate after school, and I carried on up to Houston. But I was excited about it. I was really, really excited, knowing that I was going out to play with Earl Campbell and be playing in an Astrodome, and just had an opportunity to at least have an opportunity to make a professional football team.
Yeah, so you go on the NFL, and then you transition to kick returning and defensive back. How was that transition from playing quarterback to now going over to the defensive side of the ball?
Oh, it's crazy. It was absolutely crazy. I hadn't played defensive back since high school, and you can't compare playing defensive back in high school to playing defensive back in the pros. Mm-hmm. So it was like day and night. It was a lot to learn. It looks simple and easy, but it's not. And it was about learning different techniques, and you're playing against some world-class athletes over there, first of all. It's some of the best athletes in the world over playing wide receiver. And you have somehow you have to compete against them, and so you have to really up your game. You have to learn quick. And boy, I tell you, I paid my dues that first summer in camp, and the next year, boy, they were turning me every which way but loose. And I had a coach that stuck with me and just had confidence in me, and I began to show some progress after that first year, and wound up starting my second year.
Was there a receiver then that you really look forward to getting to cover?
A receiver that I look forward to covering? No. The ones that you look forward to covering, and the ones that you would think that you would have an off day with, those are the ones that turn you inside out. Those are the ones that get you beat and get you cut. So that's one thing I learned early in my career is to be careful, and the receivers that, doesn't have speed or flashy, those are receivers you really have to focus on, because when you relax on NFL players, you get beat. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, when you relax on any level, you get beat.
And, something when I was, prepping for our conversation, I noticed first game returned a kickoff for a touchdown against the Rams. Oilers, you guys have beat them 27-20. Just what was that feeling like? Your first game, 95 yards, you go for a touchdown.
Wow. Probably my most happiest moment in all of 8 years. And it was wow, it was crazy. It was like something that you would draw up, or something that you would make a movie about or something, because I don't know if life can even prepare you for a moment like that. The game tied late in the game at 20-20, and they kicked the ball, and I run a 95-yard touchdown back with, I think it was like 20-something seconds to go in the game. And it was strange how it all happened, because I wasn't supposed to be in that spot. And I guess sometimes God does for us what we can't do for ourselves, and open doors that we can't even open. Because, like I said, I wasn't supposed to be in that spot. The guy that was in that spot all preseason and was supposed to be in there during the regular season game hurt his shoulder the last preseason game. We played 4 games, and so they bumped me up to start the season. And needless to say, he didn't get the job back. Thank God. I hate to wish one man bad luck or anything, and trust me, I didn't wish it on him. But it was just I don't know how it happened. I just did what I do and just tried to do my assignment. You catch the ball, you start everything up the middle, and then you break left or right, and it just opened up.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, when you look at, the rest of your NFL career, is there any other moments like that stood out to you, or any big takeaways you had from your time in the National Football League? Couple of things. You always, one of the things that really stood out to me is when I would play against guys that I played with in college. Virgil Say was a guy that played wide receiver at Washington Redskins. And, just to see him and hug him. Another guy, Hanford Dixon, I played over at Southern Miss for the first year. Hanford was a first-round defensive back, just to see him. And a couple other guys that played at Southern Miss. And Curtis McGriff, who played at the Giants, and I get to see Curtis. And, just seeing those guys on the field was just outstanding, to see someone from this area, on an NFL team, and you playing against them. And there were just so many moments. It was just an honor to go out and compete on Sundays. Practice was interesting because you had to compete in practice every day also, because if you didn't show up in practice and
and perform, then you know, everything else was downhill. So just preparing during the week and going out and competing was just every day. That was just a thrill for me.
And, you know, fast forward to now, you know, we're in year 2018, but what are you up to nowadays?
Well, I bought me a place in the Wiregrass area in Midland City, and I've been retired about 5 years now. And I love the outdoors. I love fishing. I love playing a little golf. I still love football, and I'm obsessed with high school football and as well as college football. And so I'm looking forward to watching a lot of football this fall coming up on primarily the high school and college.
Oh, yeah, me too. Football season is my favorite time of the year. I live and breathe following the sport year round, and I just got to say this. I told you before we got recording, I told you when I started, I appreciated you coming on and telling your stories, telling us about playing in high school, college, and the pros. I really appreciate it. And this has been a lot of fun talking to you about football.
No problem. Thanks a lot, Phillip.
All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this edition of the Wiregrass High School Football Report. Thanks again for making this show a part of your day. And please go over to 969thelegend.com, 955.tvy.com, or KMX 1067 KMX.com to listen to the show. Of course, you can listen to it on the apps as well. And, of course, the app on Apple Podcast. And please subscribe, rate, and review. If you leave a review, I will read it on a future edition of the show. And you can always follow me on social media at PJordanSEC, and you can always email me at sportstalkphilipjordan@gmail.com. Hope everybody has a great rest of the week, and I'll talk to you guys on Friday night during the Dothan Wolves Auburn broadcast on 969 The Legend, and next week right here on the Wiregrass High School Football Report.